Well, howdy, friends. My name's Jerry, and I'm here in southern Utah with the 2024 edition of the Utah Circuit Breaker video. Utah Circuit Breaker is a great program that's been in the state of Utah now for over 40 years. It's administered by the State of Utah Tax Commission and each of Utah's 29 county governments. It provides property tax relief to qualified homeowners and a little bit of rent relief to qualified renters. It's a very important program to a lot of people. In fact, last year, 44,608 households got assistance from this program here in the state of Utah. 44,608 households. How many people would that be? 100,000? 120,000 maybe? It's important to a lot of people. And oddly enough, a couple of years ago, the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute reported to the legislature that only about 20% of the seniors who would qualify for the program actually apply. Well, why is that? It's because they don't know about it. In fact, at the time in a newspaper story, the legislative liaison for the Tax Commission was quoted as saying, "We really don't have an advertising budget. That's not our business to a great degree." Well, I'm here to help. Now, last year, I went to the Utah State Capitol to film that video because that's where the rubber meets the road for this program. Every year during the budget reconciliation process, this program is reviewed and funded. And sometimes, as in the last 2 years, there's actually legislation proposed to greatly improve this program.
Thanks to friendly folks in the media, this instructional video we shot at the Utah State Capitol last year garnered over 1,400 hits on YouTube. This year, we decided to visit a different capitol, the Capitol Reef area.
After we released the instructional video last year, we made some media outreach and did some public events to bring more publicity to the Circuit Breaker program. And I hope that any members of the media that see this video will help spread the word on this great program that can help so many people throughout the state of Utah.
Last fall, we did a press conference at the Utah State Capitol to announce Circuit Breaker Renter Refund Awareness Month in the state of Utah. One of the people speaking about the importance of the Circuit Breaker homeowners and renter refund programs was Utah County Tax Administrator Bert Harvey. Bert actually administers the homeowners programs for the residents of Utah County and has seen the critical help it can provide, especially to seniors on fixed incomes. We also had representatives from the Crossroads Urban Center and the Utah Nonprofit Housing Corporation. The press conference was covered well by KSL and the Deseret News and got a quick mention on KUTV. For the first awareness event just a few days later, we did a Circuit Breaker celebration walk through Boundary Pass and Mill Creek. There are some issues with statewide participation in the program, which we'll discuss in a minute, so we wanted to publicize the fact that this was a statewide program. So we walked through every congressional district in the state down Boundary Pass. That's the 1.8-mile stretch on 3900 South between 2100 East and 900 East that borders every congressional district in the state. That walk was covered by Kathy McKittrick at the Utah Investigative Journalism Project, and stories appeared in the Ogden Standard-Examiner and the Provo Daily Herald. We also promoted Circuit Breaker on 700 East in Salt Lake City during rush hour. Then in December, before the December 31st renter refund deadline, I was invited to appear on KTVX Channel 4's Good Things Utah with Nisha DeGaring and Surrey Chin.
So a lot went on in those last months of 2023 to publicize the Circuit Breaker program. And lo and behold, participation went up. Let's take a look at some of the figures.
These are the figures for 2023 on the number of households that got assistance through the Renter Refund program. Here you can see in 2022 there were 2,564 households. In 2023, that went up by 10%. 257 more households in the state of Utah got assistance through the Renter Refund program. You can see there's some substantial gains here, and that's great. But I'm hoping we can not only maintain that momentum, but do even better this year, and you can help by getting the word out and making sure that people get their applications in by December 31st of this year. But there is still a big disparity between the renters program and the homeowners program. 2,821 households got rent relief, but 41,787 households got property tax relief. But overall, this circuit breaker program provided relief to 44,608 households in the state of Utah. It's a very important program. In January, as we approached the legislative session and our annual efforts there to improve the circuit breaker program, KSL's Dan Spindle reported on a senior who received renter refund assistance for the first time last year on a segment sponsored by AARP called Positively 50 Plus. And the link to this story is in the notes for this video. Just click on the word more and you'll see the notes. A friend of mine who's a missionary for her church visits this woman and went over with her laptop, applied online, and in about a week, this senior received a check for $575, which was quite timely as she was experiencing multiple plumbing problems she needed to repair. And as you can imagine, those things can hit seniors on fixed income pretty hard. A neighbor near her also participated for the first time and received over $700. So that will give you an idea of how effective this program can be for senior renters on fixed incomes, if only we can get the word out. And later in January, I was invited to appear along with Utah reporter Kathy McKittrick to discuss the Utah Circuit Breaker program on a national broadcast for seniors called Living and Aging with Pride, hosted by longtime Utah producer James Brown.
So after all of the events of 2023 and the publicity that was garnered for the circuit breaker program, advocates were hopeful as we approached the 2024 Utah legislative session that we could see some real improvement in a bill that was proposed up on the Hill. But once again, great improvement to the Utah circuit breaker program dies in the Utah State Senate. Now, we did get a little bit of help for the renter payout, as the tax commission realized they had not been adjusting for inflation on the renter payout as they had for the homeowner's payout. So those are now equal. But better legislation was there and could have been implemented, but it failed once again in the Utah State Senate. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics too much right now, but the political story does deserve to be told. So I will be making another video specifically on that and talking about the future of this program, because it could be in jeopardy. But look for Utah Circuit Breaker 2024 on YouTube in the near future, and that video will appear. But I did already post back in February a video on the Senate hearing that was held on February 21st in the Senate Revenue and Taxation Committee. And you can check out that hearing and see how some senators acted while that bill was debated. One of the reasons to come to southern Utah for this video is to extend outreach to rural Utahns. While the program statewide did increase participation by 10%, southern Utah is not trending the same way. Let's take a look at the figures for that.
So here's the numbers for renter refund participation in rural Utah, and as you'll see, some real improvement can be had. In the last 3 years, in these 15 counties, 15 out of Utah's 29 counties, there's been a total of 10 or less participants in the renter refund program. That's right, 10 people in 15 counties. And if you look at these numbers, there's only 6 counties that report any numbers whatsoever. 9 report 0. And you know, one of the things about this program is if you do participate, the State Tax Commission will automatically mail you the forms in late April, beginning of May, when the new forms come out. But take a look at this. 111, 222, 222, 111, 111. Are these the same people year after year, and there's no growth in this program? Now, of course, in the major metropolitan areas and the bigger counties, you're going to have more apartments, you're going to have more people able to qualify for the program. But to think that in these 15 counties, there's only 10 households that qualified and received relief? It seems to me rural Utah politicians and assistance agencies, especially those that help seniors, can do a much better job in informing rural Utahns about this statewide program.
It would be great to see more rural Utahns take advantage of this renter refund program. But regardless, the fact is, last year alone, there was an increase in participation of 2,371 households in the state of Utah for the property tax program and the renter relief program. 2,371 households. And they made up and added into the total that ended up being 44,608 households statewide. Okay, so now that we've gone over the basics of circuit breaker, let's get into the meat of what this video is about. This video is to go through the forms for the renter refund program and also talk just a little bit about the homeowners program. Now, the homeowners program, the application window on that is usually the end of January till about Labor Day. But the thing is, you'll have to go to the people who give you your property tax notices to apply. And with them, you'll get expert help on helping you fill out the applications. But the renters have to go directly to the Utah State Tax Commission Renter Refund Office. Now, they are a great group of folks and very helpful, but at the same time, it makes it a little bit easier if people know exactly how to fill out the forms, and that's what this video is about. Now, on the homeowners program, just quickly, there's about 6 different programs you can get into on that particular property tax relief. Now, there's a new program called deferral, and I'll go into that a little bit later, but deferral is a real mess. There's people in the state Senate who would like to see us move away from the circuit breaker program and totally into deferral. I'm a little bit afraid of what the circuit breaker program's future is, and we'll go over that in that other video that I mentioned to you. But deferral is a program where it's actually a thing where you pay the full tax amount. You don't get any tax relief. You pay the full tax amount plus interest, but you get to postpone it until you sell your home. And one of the problems, among many, is that you have to be 75 years of age or older to get into that program. There's many other obstacles as well. It's not a great program, and it's not what they want it to be. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But there's the deferral program. Now, if you're under 75, and circuit breaker works for a large number of Utahns of various ages. It's amazing. In fact, there's an active duty military benefit. There's a benefit for disabled people, including disabled veterans and their surviving spouses. If you're blind, you can get some property tax help. Also, if you're facing some severe financial hardship, there's an indigent program. And then, of course, there's the homeowners income program, and that's for seniors. It's for people who are 66 and older by the end of last year, or unmarried widows or widowers who were married to your spouses when they passed away. And so if you think that you could qualify for any of those homeowner programs, again, you'll need to get with the county people who assess your property taxes and get with them for relief. Now, usually the deadline's around September 1st, Labor Day or so, but you might want to check with your county and see if they might still take your application before the end of the year. Now, the Renter Refund program is a really great program that provides relief to people who are renting either a home, an apartment, or space for a mobile home, a manufactured home, or even possibly space in a trailer park. That's right. Now, if you do that and you're 66 and older by the end of 2023, or an unmarried widow or widower who was married to your spouse when they passed away, you could qualify. The other qualifications are you had to have lived in Utah all of 2023, you can't be a tax deduction on somebody else's return, and your household income has to be less than $40,840. Now, if you might qualify for that, let's take a look at the forms that you'll need to fill out, because it's incredibly easy to fill those forms out, get them in, and take part in the program. And I'm going to show you just how to do that. But remember, the deadline for the Renter Refund program is the end of this year, December 31st. So get those forms in and get your information together. What you're going to need is you're going to have your 2023 income information, and the information that shows what you paid for rent in 2023. Well, let's go into those details a little bit right now as we go through the forms.
Now, before we get into the details of the form, I wanted to show you this page and show you how to connect with the Utah State Tax Commission. This is from their website, okay? And this is their circuit breaker page. Now, when you see the forms for the Renter Refund program, you're going to see a website on there that says tax.utah.gov. That's all well and good, but that's like their opening page. You don't even need to go to that. What you want to go to is this circuit breaker page. Now, this page here has information on both the Renter Refund program and the homeowners program, okay? But here it is here, the circuit breaker Renter Refund link. This is for the property owners here. This is for the publication that shows you about the property tax programs for homeowners. But the taxpayer access point, that's very important. That's the fastest way to apply for your renter refund and get it. So for the Renter Refund program, this link here is the one you're going to be looking for, and this taxpayer access point here. And also notice here on the side, you have more links right here, same links you're going to see. Renter Refund, homeowners, apply online with TAP, and then information on the homeowners program here. The homeowners form is here, and the renters form is right there. But if you click on this circuit breaker Renter Refund link, I'll show you right now what you're going to get to. All right, so now you've made it to the right place. This is the Utah State Tax Commission website Renter Refund page. And if you click on these links, it'll answer these questions. What is renter refund? Who qualifies? When and how can I apply? Where do I submit an application? And then a few additional questions that people have asked in the past that they've included. Now, of course, this here is all these choices. Those are the same choices we saw on the circuit breaker page that we were just at. But if you want to download the forms, go right here, click on it, and you can download the forms in a PDF file and print them out and then mail those in. Or the quickest way to get your refund is to apply online with the TAP program. Now, of course, this link I've got up on the screen now, and the links to these two here I'm going to include in the note screen. Just click on the word more underneath the video screen, and we will have those there for you so you can click on them and get right to them real easy. All right, let's get right to the forms. Now, when you download the forms, it's going to come out as a 4-page file, but most of the people who apply for Renter Refund really only need to deal with 2 of the pages, and we'll show you that. But this is what they consider to be the first page. It's your instructions for the Renter Refund program. And here's your form number, TC90CB. Up here in this box, you got information how to contact the Utah State Tax Commission. Here's their 801 phone number, and there's also a toll-free number. And then also there's some of the more populous counties, Davis, Salt Lake, Utah, and Washington. That's their senior service agencies' phone numbers. Sometimes you can get help there, but actually after watching this video, you're not going to need it. And I also mentioned earlier when we got on the State Tax Commission website, here's their opening page, but you don't need to pay attention to that. Just go to the websites that I gave you for either Circuit Breaker or the Renter Refund page. Now, a couple of important things to mention, okay? This is your residency status. There are some people in the state who are not quite citizens, but would qualify for the program. And you can apply. All you need to do is you need to bring down your I-94 card or your alien registration number. But the thing is, you have to do it in person at a tax commission office. And where are they? Well, Salt Lake City, Provo, Ogden, and Hurricane. Let's talk about annual household income. That's very important for this program because the limit is $40,840 a year. So who has to report? If you have someone in your home who is 17 and under and they have income, you do not need to report anybody 17 and under. 18 and over, you do, except if they're your parents or grandparents or the parents or grandparents of your spouse, even if your spouse is departed. Let's have an example. Say you have a 53-year-old widow. She's been renting a 3-bedroom home for years. The kids have moved out, finally, and so she decides to help care for her parents. She's going to move her parents into her home. You would not need to report their income. But if it's not the parents or grandparents of you or your spouse, you do need to report the income of anybody who's 18 and over in the home. You may have noticed this box in the bottom right-hand corner of the instruction sheet. This will give you an idea of the relief that's available to Renter Refund participants. Now, of course, you're going to know what income bracket you're going to be in, okay? But now you have to figure out how much rent you paid in 2023. And that figure cannot include any type of fees like a cable TV fee, parking, pet fees, anything like that, just the rent. And if you're on a subsidy, you cannot include that subsidized amount. Say your rent's $1,200, but you're only paying $6, you can only include the $6. But once you figure out how much rent you paid, and once you figure out what bracket you're in, you can take these figures here and multiply this by the amount of rent that you paid and get an idea of the payouts that are available to participants. Now these figures, these are the maximum payouts allowed, but that actually went up quite a bit this year because the tax commission realized they weren't adjusting for inflation on the renter program as they were on the homeowners program. So we did do some good there up at the legislature this year. But just to let you know, our legislation that we proposed, we had this figure up at 18,000, and this figure here was at 44,000 for the limit. But the legislature chose not to fund that bill. But this is where you can make improvements to the program during the legislative process, is by changing the brackets. And hopefully we can get some improvements to that in the future. This is page 2 of the download. This is the household income worksheet. This is only if you have more than one income in the home. So if you're living by yourself, just ignore this. You don't need to do anything with it. You use this worksheet if you were not the only person in your household with income last year, and you will not include the income of children under 18 or your spouse's parents or grandparents, even if they live with you, like I just mentioned in the last segment, okay? But if you do have someone that would need to have their income reported, this is where you would do it. You have your name here for you or your spouse. Social security numbers go here. Anybody else in the house would go right here, one person, 2, 3, and then you'd put their information in these columns, okay? And here's your income sources if they have wages, Social Security, railroad retirement, but you do not, of course, need to report Social Security disability. Also, if you're getting SNAP benefits like food stamps and such, you do not need to report that. And if you get the HEAT program to help with your utility bills, you do not need to report that as well. But any of these income sources that you need to report, put them in these columns, okay? And then if you do have more than one person in the house getting income, you'll total those figures over here, and now I'll show you where to enter that. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. This is the Renter Refund application, and everybody who wants to apply for Renter Refund needs to fill out this sheet and the next sheet as part of the application process, whether you do it by paper or online. The only people that need to send in additional information besides these next 2 sheets are people who filled out that household income form that we just went over. You do need to include that with your application. But here you go. It's form number TC90CB, as we've mentioned before. It's for the rent year 2023, January 1st to December 31st. Applications due this December 31st, okay? And again, they mention here, if you want to do it online, tap.utah.gov, but I'll have those links in the note screen. Very self-explanatory here on the top. Applicant's first name, last name, birth date, social security number, or circuit breaker account number if you have one of those. Street address, city, state, zip, daytime phone number. And that daytime phone number is very important because if the tax commission has questions for you about the application, they'll easily be able to get a hold of you and get those questions answered and move your refund along that much quicker. Now, if you're 66 and older by the end of last year and you have a departed spouse, you do not need to include your spouse's information in this. You qualify just based on the age category. But if you are under 66 and you're applying as an unmarried widow or widower, you would have to put your departed spouse's first name here, last name, birth date, the day they passed, and their social security number or circuit breaker account number, and then mark this box that you're checking below for applying as a widow or widower. Alrighty, so that's that. Next box, do you qualify for a refund? You know, if you're a manufactured homeowner applying for a lot rental refund, say you're in a trailer park or some other place where they're charging you rent for your mobile home or manufactured home, go ahead and check this box, okay? But the other things we've gone over, 66 and older before the end of last year, or if you're under 66, an unmarried widow or widower, if whatever the case may be, mark that yes. Did you support yourself last year and you're not a dependent on somebody else's return? Mark that yes. If you are a dependent on somebody else's return, you cannot get benefits from this program. Did you live in Utah all of last year, January 1 to December 31st of 2023? If that's true, mark this box, yes. And then how many people in your household received income last year? You'll know how many to put in there. And then we get to the income stuff that we kind of went over on the other chart already, wages, pensions, Social Security, blah, blah, blah. And then if it's just yourself, put your figures in here. But if you had to do the chart, those figures that were on the right-hand side where you totaled everybody up, that's where you'll enter these. And of course, the amount has to be less than $40,840. Well, if you thought that was easy, wait till you see this. This is the second page that everybody needs to include in the application, whether they do it on paper or online, and this includes your rental information. Now, of course, this is where your address would go, and then if you moved around in 2023 and had more than one address, of course, you'll have to fill out the boxes appropriately. But if you only had one address, you'll just fill it out right here, landlord's name, landlord phone number, months at that address, how much rent you paid at that address. Now remember, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot include the subsidy or any other subsequent charges like a cable TV fee, pet fee, parking fee, anything like that. Just your rent, okay? Now, some people have utilities paid and included in their rent. If your gas is included in your rental charge, you need to check this box. If your electricity is included in your rent, you need to check that box. If you check one box, they'll deduct 7% from your return. If you check both, they'll deduct 13% from your return. But that's it for the rental information. Just make sure you have the information on hand. You don't have to send it in with the application. You don't have to send rental information or income information, just these forms. But have that stuff on hand in case you do get a call from the tax commission and they're asking you questions. Now, the next part, the residency. Okay, if you're a U.S. citizen, just check this box and move along. Nothing to see here. But again, as I mentioned earlier, if you're not quite a citizen just yet and you have an I-94 number or an alien registration number, you would include them here and then mark this box here and then take it to the tax commission offices in Salt Lake, Provo, Ogden, or Hurricane. Last thing, sign the application and date it. If you have a spouse, have them sign and date it there. And if somebody helped you with the form and they want to put their name in here, they can do that here and put their phone number as well. Last thing, you can mail it off to the tax commission, or you can apply online and make it that much easier. But if you do need some information from the tax commission, here's their phone number right here, and they'll be happy to help you with the forms. In fact, a lot of times they'll walk people through them. All right, so that's it.
So there you have it. It's that easy. The State Tax Commission does a great job with this program. And if you're running into trouble filling out the forms, give them a call at the number here that I'm going to post on the screen. And they'll be happy to help you with your questions or even walk you through the forms. You can go on their website to download paper forms. And the best thing, you can go on their website to apply online. You'll actually get your refund that much quicker. But it's so easy to do. I've seen this program make a big difference in people's lives as I was a caseworker for seniors for many years. It makes a big difference for a lot of people. So please help spread the word. Now I'm going to post this video under the headline Utah Circuit Breaker 2024 Instructional Video. So you can have people look for that. Now also, this year I'm going to have an email address that you can contact me if you'd like to. I have an email address of Utah Circuit Breaker at xmission.com. I'm really happy to support a local firm like X-Mission. They do a great job over there. They're a great company. So look for Utah Circuit Breaker at xmission.com. And again, I will be posting these links and other information in the notes to this video. All you need to do is to go under the screen and click on that word more, and that the whole notes will pop up and you'll see the links that I will provide to like the Senate hearing from last year and to other links that might be appropriate to get relief on this program. But it's a great program, and anything you can do to help spread the word would be great. Now, just a reminder before we go, if you're interested in the future of Circuit Breaker and what's going on in the legislature with the program, do check back to Utah Circuit Breaker 2024, as I will be posting a video on the political future of the Utah Circuit Breaker program. But it's very, very important to a lot of people, and I hope you'll help spread the word on it. But I do thank you sincerely for watching this video. I really hope that it's a help to you or someone you know, because I know for a fact Circuit Breaker is a difference maker, and you can help by spreading the word. Thanks so much for watching.